Good morning, grade 10s. All right, if everyone can give me a green check mark in Blackboard, that would be fantastic so that I know you guys are ready to go this morning. Good morning, Kyla. I know, actually, you're probably not even in the live classroom yet. I think Mr. Borden's going to be chatting with you there. So anyways, you guys, let's get started today. Just waiting for a few more green check marks here. Jenna, Costin, give me those green check marks, you guys. Hopefully some people will be slowly trickling in here as well. Now, isn't it appropriate today, you guys, that today is Pink Shirt Day, right? It's Anti-Bullying Day today here in all across Canada. And I do not own one stitch of pink clothing in my closet because pink doesn't look good on me. But isn't it amazing that I chose pink as my PowerPoint background? So it's so appropriate for today's lesson. And also, isn't it appropriate, Mr. Ross pointed this out to me this morning, isn't it ironic that today, on Anti-Bullying Day, we're taking a look at probably one of the biggest bullies in history, right? Hitler. So we thought that was quite amusing. So today's lesson, you guys, we are looking at, we've talked about the events of World War II, what went on during that time. Last class, we took an in-depth look at the Holocaust, right? The significance of that event, why we study it to this present day, the importance of it. And now I ask the question of you guys, and really of myself too, whenever this kind of stuff comes up, when those big injustices occur, like the Holocaust and all of those millions of lives that were lost. Why didn't anyone stop Hitler? Why did no one stop him? Right? That's really the big question that I ask. Yay, hi Kyla, it looks like you got on. All right. So that's kind of that big question that I want to ask in this lesson today is really, why didn't anyone stop Hitler or Germany? Okay. Now, and when I say that, I mean like in the early stages, like before the US joined the war, right? Why didn't Britain, why didn't France, why didn't they stop them? Because their armies were just as powerful as Germany, right? So this is the big thing. In the Blackboard, you guys, give me a green check mark if you've heard of the little kids book, a storybook called If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. Has anyone read that book? If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. Give me a green check mark. Okay, thank goodness. I was talking to my colleagues here at McWilliams, and no one has read that novel. No one has read that book. Even to their children, they've never heard of this story. All right? So I'm glad a few of you have heard this story. That makes me happy. All right? So that you'll see where we're going with this, because you can see that I've titled today's lesson is If You Give Hitler a Cookie. Right? So we're going to tie in that storybook and take a look at it through a historical lens and make an analogy to Hitler and to Germany. All right. So here's our agenda for this morning, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think I have any major announcements. Just again, keep reminding you guys, check your grades. Okay. Make sure you're checking the calendar on a daily basis so that you know what class you have, right? Those sort of things. We're going to take a look at the actual storybook, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. And then we're going to talk about this idea of appeasement and what that actually means and how that ties into World War I and into the storybook, or World War II, and the storybook. And then we're going to apply that knowledge. Then we're going to start applying that idea of appeasement to Hitler and to Germany. And then we're going to go over the assessment that we're going to co-create together, you guys, and then we'll do a reflection, our ticket out the door. So here's our I can statements for the morning for our learning targets, all right? These two are quite big, you guys. So realize too that we can actually extend this throughout the whole unit as well, right? These skills that we're going to be working on today. So the big skill is today is that assessment skill. When you're looking at something, can you justify? Can you look at a piece of or look at historical actions, okay, and really assess why they happened. So I can assess how the actions of Hitler and the other world leaders affected the outcome of World War II. And number two, I can compare a piece of text to the actions of appeasement that occurred during World War II. And that comparing the piece of text is our storybook that we're going to use today, the story of If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. All right, so here's our introduction. So in the assignment, you guys, you'll notice that I've actually put a read-along storybook in the assignment. Let me know, please. I have a sneaky suspicion, and I'm going to go check. Don't even let me know. I know I didn't. I don't think I opened up the assignment yet, you guys. So give me a second here. I was just thinking that. I was like, I don't think I opened up the assignment today. And I didn't. So give me a second here, ladies and gentlemen. All right, if everybody can refresh their screens, now you should be able to see the assignment, all right? So if you just refresh your browser, you should be able to now see the assignment if you give Hitler a cookie, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna watch the read along. It's gonna actually read you the story of If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, okay? And while you're thinking about this, okay, while you're watching and reading and just assessing the content of the story, there's three things I want you guys to think about. We're gonna do a strategy called color symbol image, okay? So really think about a color that you associate with the story and why. Okay, so you need to choose a color that you associate with the story. The second one is a symbol. Remember what a symbol is. A symbol is something that represents an idea, okay? So it's something that represents the theme of the story or the idea of the story. So I want you to come up with a symbol that you can associate that represents the story. And also an image. So there's a difference between symbol and image, you guys, okay? An image is just anything that you can associate the story with. What does this story remind you of? Go grab a picture of it, right? But remember, a symbol actually represents something, okay? So there's a difference between the symbol and image. Be ready to share these with a partner after you're done reading, okay? Or listening. So I'm gonna give you guys 5 minutes to listen to the story and think about your CSI, your color symbol image, and then we're gonna partner up, okay, and discuss the color symbol image in relation to If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. All right, so take 5 minutes and go ahead and watch that, you guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, can you give me a green check mark, please, once you've listened to the story and thought of your CSI? Perfect. Awesome. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to partner up and we'll just share our CSIs. We'll just take 2 minutes and just share quickly your CSI. So remember, team, you might have to give a little bit of an explanation around why you chose those things, right, you guys? So give some justification to your partner as well. All right, so here we go. If we could partner up, let's go Kaylin and Connor. Eric, you can partner up with me, please. Jenica and Jenna, Jesse and Josh, Costin and Kyla, and then Leeds and Madison. So just in a private chat, you guys, just, share your CSI to each other, and then we'll come back and do a quick little whip around and see what everyone said. All right, so let's take 2 minutes to share. Go ahead, you guys. All right, just finish off your conversations that you're having there, you guys. Okay. I saw some really great colors and why you guys chose that, and even your symbols. It was really interesting. I don't want to pick on anybody, but just I'm just going to head to the blackboard here, you guys, and bring it up. Oh, I think that's Mr. Borden's room. There we go. All right. So in the chat, you guys, if anyone feels comfortable, can they just share just one aspect, okay, of what they shared with their partner? So it can either be your color, it can be your symbol, or your image, but tell me why. And I don't want to pick on anyone, but Connor, could you share your symbol? Because it was really good. Thank you. Yeah, you guys came up with some great stuff. So if you guys want to just share really quickly into the room, just one thing that you and your partner discussed and why, that would be fantastic. Love it. Thank you, Connor. Okay, so Connor, I actually don't know if you know this, but the number 8 on its side is actually the symbol for infinity, right? Because it never ends, right? It just keeps going. So I'm glad you picked up on that in the story, that, yeah, you're right. It loops back to the beginning, right? It comes back full circle. So that's an interesting aspect of the story, and keep that in the back of your mind when we start doing our assignment for today, because that is going to be actually part of it. Okay. And I noticed a lot of you guys chose the color blue. Some of you chose green. I know it's hard to associate a color to actually like a piece of text or a story, but it just deepens your guys' thinking, right? It actually makes your thinking visible as well to me, why you're thinking that. It makes you think on that deeper level, right? And that's really what I'm getting at when we start doing these strategies. Thanks for sharing that, Connor. So if I just let me head back to my PowerPoint here, you guys. All right, excellent work. So now what we're going to do is now we're going to really delve in and acquire the knowledge that we need to be successful when we start doing our assignment today. All right. So what you really need to know, and I noticed this as you guys were chatting, that some of you really picked up on actually what the term appeasement means. You may not know that that's what you picked up on, but that is exactly what you guys did. So really, I'm going to ask you guys, what does the term appeasement mean? I've put it into the course, the actual Google definition of what appeasement means, right? So when you look at it, it's one of those funny definitions, right? It means the action or process of appeasing, okay? But really, what does that mean, okay? Right? What does to appease somebody actually mean? So again, with your same partners, I just want to take 2 minutes. We'll do a quick think, pair, share. And I want you to discuss in your own words what that means, what this concept of appeasement means. Can you come up with some examples, maybe even in your own life or even in history? Can you apply it and see it in historical events? Okay, so let's take 2 minutes, same partner that you did with the CSI, you guys, take 2 minutes and discuss the concept of appeasement. Go ahead. This German empire, a strong German empire of a strong race. And how does he do that? He needed more land, right? He wanted to become sustainable. And he needed that more land to have, to be able to grow the Germanic race. And he needed more land to grow food, right? Because remember, the Treaty of Versailles crippled them economically and they didn't have enough food, okay? So that was one of his main goals. So in the assignment, you guys, what your goal is for applying the knowledge is, you are going to create your own story of if you give Hitler a cookie. Okay, that's what your kind of concept is. So if you go to the assignment, you guys, you'll see a download button, and you'll download the assignment there, and I've given you some pretty specific instructions there. Okay, this is a little bit of a bigger project for you guys, so we'll see how it goes, and if you need some more time, we'll discuss it next class. But really what I'm looking for is, it's all laid out in the assignment that you guys can download, okay? So really, essentially, you guys are making your own storybook, okay? And I want it to sound like if you give a mouse a cookie. So and again, I've given you a student sample as well in the assignment, you guys. Feel free to take a look at it. You know, she played around with the title a little bit. So instead of if you give Hitler a cookie, she called it if you give Hitler a country, right? She made it a little bit, twisted it on her own, right? So that's kind of what you're going to do. So take a look. I think the student sample will really help you guys. So take a look through that. And you'll see that the criteria and the requirements are on that download assignment sheet, okay? So you've got to have a title page. You must have at least 10 pages, okay? You must have illustrations, and that can be a drawing, clip art, whatever you can draw it yourself. It's up to you guys. It must be historically accurate, and it needs to follow the proper book format. So what I mean by that is, right, exactly what Connor was saying when he was talking about his infinity symbol. The start of the book has to come back around to the end of the book has to come back around to the start of the book. It kind of has to end how it starts, right? I've given you some tips and ideas as well. So come up with a clever idea. Again, the book ends how it begins. If you can't draw, you can use clip art. And again, Connor, I think I'm just heading towards where you were going here, right? If you want to experiment with some technology to present this, go right ahead, right? If you want to use PowerPoint, if you want to use Prezi, if you want to use, there are a gazillion web tools out there, you guys. There's actually flip books that you could create if you really wanted that book feel, okay? It's totally up to you guys how you want to present this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back just a slide, because I've also included a timeline for you guys to start your research around this. No, Kyla, it's got to be Hitler, okay? It's got to be if you give Hitler a cookie, right? If you give Hitler a cookie, what happens, okay? So take a look at the sample, you guys, because it'll really help guide you through it, okay? I've also included a timeline, okay? Now, this is where that you can do some research, right, around this. And remember that his goal, you guys, right, was to obtain land, right, so he can have this self-sustained empire, right? So I would really focus in on the timeline when you're doing your research. Focus on the invasions, the countries that he invades and takes over, right? Because therefore he's expanding his land. And he maybe focus on the events where Britain and France, you know, give him something to appease him. They say, okay, take this piece of land or take this, and you don't do this in return. But then he does, right? It continues on this path. And also think about the alliances that he forms as well, because that's important as well, because that expands, right, his land base, and that expands his population, all right? So think about invasions, think about alliances. That's really going to help you focus in on that timeline that I give you. Because when you take a look at the timeline, you guys, just let me open up the assignment here so you can see. when you focus in, and I kind of did this on purpose for you guys, because when I wanted you to take a look at this, I didn't want to just lay out exactly what I wanted to see in your presentation. I wanted you guys to actually have to do some work, right? So I wanted you to have to actually do a little bit of research, right? That's part of your skill set that you need to learn for social studies, okay? So when you take a look at this timeline, you're gonna see it's big. And any of the blue links you can actually find more information about, okay? So you're really gonna have to key in on key events that happen that you think why the other, like Britain and France were appeasing Hitler and Germany, all right? So you're gonna have to do a little bit of digging. This isn't just super easy, all right? So feel free to use the sample to guide you, but again, you guys, it does need to be your own work. It needs to be your own words. So you'll see that I've included the student sample, and if you just click on it, it'll take you to the link where it's got the presentation there, okay, you guys? So I'm gonna give you guys about half an hour, okay, to start kind of formulating your thoughts, doing a bit of research on the timeline, taking a look at the student sample. After half an hour, I want to come back because I think you'll have a better idea of what I want from you guys. And then we're going to go over some criteria and start to co-construct some criteria around how we're going to assess this. All right? And then I'll give you the rest of the class even to work further on it. All right, so let's start with 30 minutes and then we'll reconvene in 30 minutes to come up with some criteria. All right, if you've got questions, I'm on Blackboard, you guys, too, to answer anything. All right, go ahead and get started. All right, grade 10s, if you can come on back into the live classroom and into Blackboard, give me a green check mark, just so I know that you're ready to go here and that we can reconvene. I am going to give you lots more time, you guys, to work on this, so don't feel that you need to be rushed here. But I want you to come back because I want to talk about what are we going to assess in this presentation. All right, we need to co-construct some criteria together to really understand what I'm going to be looking for. All right, so Connor, if you're there, Jenna, Costin, give me those green check marks, you guys. Josh B. All right, and I'm just gonna bring my PowerPoint back up and get to, here we go. This is where I want to be. All right. And actually, I want to be here so that we can actually put on some text. So you should have had a chance to take a look at the assignment, start taking a look at the timeline, start figuring out what you want to include. You should have taken a look at the sample. So now we need to come up with some assessment. What do we think I'm going to be looking for when I mark your presentation? All right, let's just, okay, so let's just throw some phrases or words into the chat here, and we can delve into that. Good. So Jesse, I'm going to put info, like information, but like, can we make it a little bit more detailed than that? Ooh, good. Kyla, I'm going to add that. And again, Kyla, what does that look like? What does creativity actually look like? We need to make it really specific. Good, Madison. We'll add some grammar in there. It should be in your own words. Okay, so it should be, let's say this, Jesse, tell me if I'm wrong. Should it be relevant information? And correct information, Kaylin? Maybe we'll add that. So I'm just gonna put my cursor back up here. Okay, good. So I'm gonna put relevant and correct to get Jesse's in there as well. Easy to follow, good, thanks Leeds. So it's not all over the place, right? Good, and Jenna, that ties into that, so good flow. Good. So that, I'm gonna actually, Kyla, are you okay if I put that actually in with the information? Relevant, correct, and accurate, right? Yeah, good. Yes, that's right, Kaylin, good. All right, so can we use that word then, accuracy? Kaylin, are you okay if I take that one out then? Because they do kind of mean the same. Perfect. All right, what else? So Jenna, what do you mean by that? Doesn't escalate too quickly. And take a look too, you guys, on that downloaded sheet that I gave you. Remember, there's some requirements as well, right? So we need to include that in our assessment, I believe. Right? Remember, there was a... Okay. Just trying to think of how to word that, Jenna. Like, do you have enough? I'm trying to think, because remember we're supposed to have like 10 parts, 10 events, 10 slides. Is that kind of what you're thinking? That's just pretty, I think it's pretty, yeah, that's what I was thinking too, Jenna, that it really does go into flow, right? Yes, it is, Kaylin. So we can break grammar down if you guys want, right? So this is punctuation. This is your spelling, okay? Capitalization, all those things, okay? That's your grammar, Yeah, absolutely. Remember too, you guys, like there was those, like I said, in the assignment, I gave you some specific criteria as well, right? Remember it was like, I think I called it 10 pages, but really I'm looking for, you know, some events, right? Some specific events. There was title. What else? Oh, images. Maybe that's part of your creativity, right, Kyla? So this could be your images, color, etc. Right? Okay. Was there anything else in that document that I put, you guys, that we need to include in our criteria? The other thing that I wanted to mention, just so you guys are thinking, contemplating about this, in the sample that I gave you as well, you guys, you don't have to include the mouse aspect, right? You know how she kind of did a split screen and compared the mouse story to the Hitler appeasement? You don't have to do that. You can just give me the Hitler story, right? It's completely up to you guys how you want to lay that out. All right. So maybe we actually talk about layout. Maybe that's part of good flow as well. Right? Anything else? Are we missing anything, you guys? Or are we good? I'm just going to clear the screen. Yeah. Oh, Jenna, thank you. Yes, that is part of. Let's put that. Well, we'll just jot it down. Yeah, it needs to come back to the beginning, right? Story needs to come back to the beginning, right? It needs to have that continuous. Kaylin, are you going to narrate your story? Like with your voice? Is that what you're thinking? Yeah, so you don't have to if you don't want to, but maybe we could include that if you want to get creative, right, you guys? If you want to include, that could be a component of your creativity, right? If you wanted to actually read your story. Yeah. Right? Yeah, so that's what I was saying, Kaylin, right? Like, you know how she compared the mouse story to the appeasement? You don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can actually just tell me the Hitler appeasement story in your presentation. But if you want to do the comparison, feel free as well. It's totally up to you guys how you want to take that. All right? So if you're good with this criteria, you guys, give me a green check mark and I can type this up into a chart and we'll put it into the assignment. And that's literally, you know, if we think that that's good, if that's, you know, we've got our grammar, we've got our content, right? All of that, we've got our creative aspect. I think we're pretty good. All right. So I will make sure that I email this to myself and get it into the assignment for you guys. All right, so we have just over an hour, you guys. So I am going to sign off on the live classroom. You guys have the rest of the time. We are going to reconvene at about 1:15. So in about an hour, we'll reconvene, you guys. I wanted to give you lots more time to work on this because it is a bit of a bigger project. And we'll reconvene in about an hour just to do our wrap up and ticket out the door for the day. All right, so this is where I'm going to say goodbye on the live classroom. Please stay in Blackboard. Give me 10 minutes to get back to my office and set back up. And if there's any questions, hold off on them until I get back into Blackboard in my office. All right, so we'll see you guys in about 10 minutes.